The idea behind is that signal to noise ratio is there is a person coming and says something, and that's a signal, but that signal contains a lot of noise. And he could go on and repeatedly say things, but the reality is the biggest signal comes from statistical observations of people in similar situations. You know what's the biggest problem I see? People say this stock is good, but it's ranked, 76 out of the S&P 500. No margin of safety. When you're actually buying a stock, you're trying to be perfect. Good stocks falling down, forming a bottom, and you're putting bids underneath the bid. You're average, man. You're average. This is a good stock. You don't need to be that good.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dimitar. With me is Mr. Nikolai Stoikov, and we welcome you to Trading Patterns.
Hello, Mr. Kirchhoff, and hello to our lovely audience. Mr. Kirchhoff had difficulty remembering the name of the episode, so I'll share it for the audience. Name of the episode is Right Discernment, Signal to Noise Ratio.
Right,
Discernment. But before we start with the episode, we're trying to make those conversations as genuine as possible. So they're inspired by something, and then for the audience, we kind of started to change the format. And I would be discussing with Mr. Kirchhoff, the ideas, and he would be kind of genuinely surprised when he hears it again. So we decided that I no longer would discuss it with him, so everything is new. And for the sake of keeping it authentic, usually those conversations before we started the podcast would basically gravitate towards the previous talk, if it was memorable. How do you feel about Circle 1, 2, and 3 and Ethical Coherence episode?
I personally love that episode. I listened to it a couple of times.
How many times exactly?
Between 6-7 times.
6-7 times. When you left the episode, you're probably sure that there's some people that will get it and need it.
Yeah.
And what was the reality?
That was the case. Some people recognize themselves.
Like who? Okay, if you can.
Yeah, close people.
Okay.
Close circle. They didn't like that.
They didn't like the idea of Circle 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah. When it's presented with, simple explanation, it hits you in the face.
Right.
So.
Was there a difference in the gender and age kind of attraction to the episode?
No, I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
Mostly young people, like under 30.
All right.
So,
how much under 30? That matters. 25?
25 to 30.
That's relatively like our audience. So it's like if it's below 25, that becomes difficult.
No. 25 to 30 years old.
25 to 30. All right. So we're going to be talking about right discernment and signal to noise ratio. And we're going to start with a few examples, like actual examples, and then we'll kind of build on them. The first example is actually really what happened. Maybe several weeks after the war in Ukraine broke out, I have an acquaintance of mine. She's half Bulgarian, half Ukrainian, and she contacted me on Facebook and said, Nikolai, I can't sleep, I can't eat, I have relatives in Ukraine, and I'm getting worried that Putin's gonna use nuclear arms in Ukraine. And can you tell me something to make me feel better? And I said, well, you've come to the right person. I don't know more than what is widely known, but my interpretation of what I know and what is widely known is completely different than yours. And I'll tell you why I interpret it differently, and I'll ask you if you feel or think differently about the situation. I said to her, like, first of all, at the time, people were comparing Putin to Hitler. I said that's misguided. And I'll tell you quite a few differences that make it very obvious that Putin is not very close to Hitler at all. First of all, Hitler died relatively young, at the age of 56, and he started like the kind of World War II, or kind of the precursors, in his late 40s. Yeah, late 40s is a very dangerous age. That's when people really kind of could start nuclear war. And Putin was 70 or 69 at the time. I said that's a little bit old for a person. I said the other thing is Hitler didn't have any children. Mr. Putin seems like he has 5 children. And 3 of them are from his wife that's at least close to 30 years younger. Also, Mr. Putin seems like probably one of the wealthiest people in the world, probably, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I said to her, how often do you think Putin thinks about sex? And she's like, I don't know. Well, how often do psychologists say that men think about sex? Every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes for 2 minutes. And given the fact that he has 3 children with his kind of partner, I would say that he likes having sex with her. And that's rare. So let me put it this way. There is money. There is an attractive, much younger woman. And you like having sex with her. This kind of man doesn't start
wars, yeah.
I'm just like, how do you know? I was like, I don't know. But if he's anything like the people I know and myself, he wouldn't start. I mean, he would threaten to start a nuclear war, but he probably wouldn't start it because, there's so much to live. Moreover, what do you think is the relationship between his partner and him? Do you think she calls him Mr. Putin? I would gladly sacrifice my children for Russia. Do you think that's what she really does? Or do you think that he may have overpromised that Ukraine would be a short excursion?
Yeah.
And now that the thing is over, she tells him, Vladimir, you're a liar, 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 liar. How could I possibly trust you? All you do is lie. I said, why do you think his relationship with his wife is any different than most other relationships? I mean, truth is statistical. And people kind of like don't really think about all the other aspects. People are a function of what they do and the people that they're surrounded around. And the fact that Mr. Putin has stayed in power means that he has probably very special skill of kind of surviving bureaucracy, like, in the Kremlin. But people usually have only one special talent. Only one special circumstances. Usually, once you get that special circumstances out of the way, everything else is normal. And I said to her, what do you think? Do you think when he calls her, and at the time she was in Switzerland. I said, that's another thing. If a person was going to start a nuclear war and so sort of a suicide mission as a man, he would make sure that his family is right next to him. His wife and his 3 children are in Switzerland. And she probably likes living in Switzerland. She probably likes going to, the French Riviera.
Yeah.
Probably, right? And how do you think sex is now that she can't leave Switzerland? She can't go to Friends Riviera. Probably not that good.
Probably not that good.
And I asked her, so do you think I think right? And she said, I don't really subscribe to the whole sex every 30 minutes kind of thing. But I have forgotten that, he has a woman in his life. And I'm sure she's banging his head quite often. Quite often. The idea behind is that signal to noise ratio is there is a person come in and says something, and that's a signal. But that signal contains a lot of noise. And he could go on and repeatedly say things, but the reality is the biggest signal comes from statistical observations of people in similar situations. And the real signal is that men do commit things like, irrational things, but usually those contain at least one or maybe several ingredients. Lack of money, loss of reputation, and loss of family or kind of like, I guess, companionship. If none of those things are lost, people don't start nuclear wars. It's a statistical truth. So there is the idea of what your Putin is in your head, and there's the statistical profile of Putin, like averages and standard deviation. And I call this Occam's razor. So it's like Occam's razor is the most likely outcome. It's usually basically the simplest explanation is the most likely outcome. So you think of it as an anchor. So you put this anchor, and Mr. Putin is somewhere around there. So we don't know if he thinks about sex every 30 minutes, as they say, psychologists. But given the fact that he has so many children with her and he's married to a much younger wife, we can suspect that it's not that rare event. It's probably not
It
that
might
rare.
not be 30 minutes, might be 45 minutes.
Yes, or 39.
So, but what you're saying is that at the end of the day, statistically, Putin is just another man
Right.
who has a wife that nags him.
Right. The idea behind this is the truth is statistical. Like what you think of Putin is what I call postcards from the futures. So when people speak about Putin, an image of Putin would show up in your consciousness. And that's a product of your kind of animalistic sight, so memory of seeing him. And all those images do things in your head. So for example, he starts like a nuclear war, presses a button, but that's an illusion. That's a visual hallucination that has some kind of probability in reality, but this is far away from the truth. This is the thing that you're like most scared of. So you see an image of Putin in your head, and he kind of presses some sort of buttons, and kind of nuclear missiles kind of get launched. This is all like a very extreme hallucination. And just because you see it, it may not be the truth. As a matter of fact, those kind of visual kind of projections, what they call postcards from the future, are usually always extreme and not aligned with the truth. So they are noise. They are noise. There is some signal in them that this could actually happen, but your subconscious or conscious mind cannot calculate the probability. And the truth is probabilistic, which means it's dry. It comes up with the probability and has no images. That's the most important thing. Truth has no images. It's just statistical. It's just statistical. What do you say?
It makes sense.
All right. So truth is statistical, and if you see images of the future, that's not a premonition, that's a hallucination. Yes. So yeah. So every time somebody has like a premonition, kind of visualization of what the future is, this is a visual hallucination. So it's like, this is, it could be true, it could happen, but as a matter of fact, they're just noise. Much more noise than signal. Signal comes statistical.
Statistically, yeah.
Right. So let's go to like the present situation with Iran and
yeah.
the US. I wrote a blog about it, and
Good blog
right,
post. Good blog post.
yeah.
Audience should maybe we should
Yeah.
post a link in the description.
Yes.
You guys should definitely give it a read.
Right. So I was thinking about it, and the pattern is very clear. It's like the military budget for Iran was less than $8 billion last year, and the military budget for US was $800 billion. And imagine this is a soccer team. One soccer team has the kind of like annual salaries, so kind of like total salaries paying to players 100 times bigger than another team. Even if that big team, for example, like I'm from Stara Zagora, and Stara Zagora football club is called Beroe. And if we choose like another major team in Europe, I don't know, Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich probably has at least 100 times bigger salary than Beroe Stara Zagora. And even if Bayern Munich comes to play Beroe Stara Zagora in Stara Zagora, at home turf,
it won't be as easy.
Beroe has no chance. I mean, those are professionals. We're not talking about some high school, kind of amateur athletes and stuff like that. Like, if Bayern comes and plays Beroe Stara Zagora in Stara Zagora, it will win. Especially if the match is worth playing for. So, of course, people have some visualization of Iranians launching kind of like missiles, putting mines into the Strait of Hormuz. Those are visual hallucinations. It's 100 to 1. It's 100 to 1. I don't know. Truth is statistical. And then I said to her, okay, is there, of course, sometimes big powers lose. But they lose, like for example, the latest example was Ukraine. Ukraine's budget before the invasion of Russia, the previous year, 2021, was $6 billion military budget, while Russia was $65 billion. It's 10 to 1. And probably if Russia hadn't underestimated Ukraine, they probably would have still won. But given that they underestimated and had logistical problems, Ukraine received a lot of military aid. So that kind of allowed them to even out the odds. And even if we go to like Vietnam, the Soviet Union was supplying lots of weapons. So the interesting thing about Iran is not only it's outmatched, 100 to 1, it seems, is that nobody's backing it. So Russia is involved in Ukraine, so probably can't spare anything of value. And China is staying neutral. China has history of doing trading with Iran, but there's no history of Chinese sale of weapons to Iran. And given that China has some sort of problem with the Muslim minority, they're probably not very keen on helping Iran with their kind of, revolutionary rhetoric. So truth is statistical. Of course, a lot of things could happen, but 100 to 1 in the military budget tells you a lot. Of course, that team could lose. But
unlikely. But if it's, like you say, 100 to 1,
yes.
Then why is it taking so long?
Well, it's not taking that long. So the whole thing is that it's not that it just takes time. So the whole rhetoric goes something like this. Everybody starts from a hard stand to a hard stand, and it goes into some sort of step levels of the walking down the rhetoric. And there's interesting patterns I follow. So, for example, one of the things Iran did today, they said they're going to allow non-enemy ships to go through the strait, which is very strange because Israel and the US practically don't have any tankers. So most of the tankers are like Greek or some sort of island owned. So like, and most of the oil that's getting transported through the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia. So it doesn't even go to the US or Israel. So this really has very little impact. So they probably promised it. But then the other thing I follow is a number of missiles being launched. And this is a very interesting thing. So it's like a number of missiles being launched. The first day Iran launched 90 missiles. Second day they launched 60 missiles. And then every week the ratio is decreasing with occasional spikes. And now they're between 1 to 10 missiles a day. The other thing that's very interesting, it's been also a month. Do you know how many people died in that conflict?
No.
Would you care to guess?
I really can't guess.
Well, apparently something between 1,000 and 2,000 people.
That low?
Yeah.
Civilians included?
Yeah, with in Iran, like with the other kind of neighboring countries, the estimate is like maybe 4,000 to 5,000. In Israel, like some people died. But in reality, the strikes on Iran are actually very targeted. And really avoiding even targeting the military. So if they really wanted to kill some soldiers, they probably could have.
I had no idea that
the
toll of death is so low.
It's so low.
Not that it's a bad thing, but
yeah. So it's like the rhetoric is high and the price of oil is very high. But once you dig in underneath the statistics, you kind of begin to see that, wow, this is not so bad. Truth is statistical.
Truth is statistical.
Truth is statistical. Are you ready for another example?
Yeah.
Right. A real example. A friend of mine, he was married once before, got divorced, and now he got remarried married again, I'm sorry, not remarried, married again to another woman, and they have a child that's 3 months old, and he's coming to visit in Bulgaria, telling me how things are great. That could potentially be you relatively soon, right? What do you think I told him? He said like, marital bliss, everything's good. Wife's good. Kids are good.
The sun is shining.
Sun is shining. What do you think I told him?
Buckle up.
Okay. How did I tell him to buckle up? Right. Yeah, you wouldn't guess it. It's a little bit other pattern for now. Right. So the first thing I said to him is like, okay, you're aware that just because you find something, keeping it is harder. Right. The statistics are 90% of the people that get married find marital bliss in the first year. 100% of those people would lose that marital bliss.
That's 100%.
100%. And 20 to 30% of those people would find some version of that marital bliss at some point later on. We don't know if they will. But first year satisfaction in general, statistically speaking, is the highest, never to be exceeded. So we're going down, brother. We're going down. You think the time that you've been married is complete signal.
But he married her relatively quick.
So they dated a year before they got married, and I guess she got pregnant, and they got married, and they have the kid. So the relationship is 2-year-old, married for 1 year. Right. So I said to him, buckle up. Because this kind of feeling would never be surpassed. It's going to be lower. Question is how much lower. Let's go on. I said to him, like, okay, the kid for the 3 months, the kid is actually very quiet because the lungs are very underdeveloped. And this is the time where the kid starts crying. And her mother is usually around, so she helps you around, but she's not going to be around forever. So things are going to get, she's going to have less help. Let me tell you another fact, I told to him. Did you know that when women breastfeed, their libido goes down? Female chimpanzees,
That's for real?
it's for real, female chimpanzees, once they get pregnant, stop having sex.
Yeah.
3 to 5 years.
5 years?
3 to 5 years. They dedicate themselves. And this is hormonal connected to breastfeeding. Combine this with the lack of sleep.
Oh, yeah. It's going down.
So I said to him, and the most important thing is that sexual behavior in animals is observed, so we kind of know it. But sexual behavior in humans is self-reported.
Yeah. Nobody to study us.
So the statistics are like real for animals, and we could extrapolate for humans because humans may report different things. So tendencies for people to self-report what they believe they should be doing rather than they're actually doing. So I said to him, the self-reported sexual encounters for people that are married are usually once a week, something like that. So let's extrapolate that. 50 weeks roughly times 10 minutes. Let's do it even 60 times a year, not once a week, 60 times a year times 10 minutes, which is generous, but let's be generous. 600 minutes, right. 600 minutes is what? 10
hours. Yeah.
Right. Do you know how often it rains in the pyramids of Giza during the year in terms of hours? It rains in Giza.
4? 5?
Between 5 and 15 hours a year. So we see this pattern in, like, do you know what lionesses do? Lionesses, when they're getting heat, they have sex with the lion every 20 to 40 minutes. I mean, it's really, that's what they do. She gets pregnant, and for the next year and a half, she doesn't have sex. She just takes care of the cub. So congratulations, buddy. Your sex life is going down.
Definitely
massively.
Going down, yeah.
Massively. Let's extrapolate that. So we say that you have sex, like, when you're married, 600 minutes a year. And you think for 2 minutes every half an hour, which you wake 16 hours. So that's 32, that's an hour a day you're thinking about sex. 365
300 hours.
300 hours while you're having sex about
10 hours.
10 hours. So the mismatch is 30 to 1.
That's terrible for men.
Yeah, so mismatch is 31. If you think you're thinking about, and this is like the whole thing is like, I remember that I had a friend, and he was dating this girl in the beginning, and they had a thing for a bathroom. So that's like, we'll go somewhere and they'll sneak into the bathroom and they'll have sex, and he'll say, like, she's a nymphomaniac. It turns out she wasn't a nymphomaniac. They got married, she became a mother, and that was it.
She wasn't nymphomaniac no more.
Truth is statistical.
So the image of her being nymphomaniac was the noise.
So it's mostly noise. So I told him, like, what you think about your relationship with this woman is some signal, but it's mostly noise. And the interesting thing about the identity of the relationships would be what happens, not usually what occurs under stress. And by having the kid, this is a self-generated crisis. And you'll find out, like, what the relationship is. What happened prior to the kid is relevant, but not that much, because it wasn't that urgency or relevancy. And it's a very good indication, because this is a self-generated, so this thing is coming. All the other crises in your life are going to be worse, because they're going to be unexpected. So if you can't handle the kid, and then he said something like, so I shouldn't be having kids then. I said, good thinking, dog. It's a little bit late for that. But the answer to that statistical question is no. The answer to that statistical question is no. The reality of what happens is couples that don't have kids tend to get divorced faster. And so the relationship doesn't get tested. And so it doesn't get tested fast enough. And what happens is, apparently there is some sort of psychological need women experience to have kids. And even if she agrees to not have kids, eventually she might change her mind and blame the husband for going along with it or pushing her into the thing.
So we're fucked either way.
Yeah, you're fucked. So in that thing is like, you need that test to happen fast, so you understand if the relationship is going to last or not. Even if you don't have kids, the relationship could be good, but it's just going to take longer to test
it. Yeah.
So now, if you have kids, and you have kids earlier, relationship gets tested, and you see immediately the identity of the relationship. While, in other words, this relationship doesn't get tested. And when the tests are done, maybe people have already invested so much kind of time or official presence kind of being together. So the relationship, but this, I really don't know why, but the statistics are if couples don't have kids, relationship is more vulnerable and they could get divorced. Yeah, signal to noise ratio. I told him that those 2 years don't mean that much. Call me when you overcome a crisis. Yeah. Call me when you overcome a crisis. Signal to noise ratio. Right. There is one particular extrapolation of this signal to noise ratio that's very interesting. And right, it's what's the idea. What people are missing is, I will usually try to find in spiritual development, even in Buddhism, is actually best described in psychology, and it's called the idea of self-regulation. And idea of self-regulation is actually very, very interesting. And it basically says that people are incoherent. There is a kind of like a contradiction, internal contradiction in the value system, and there is no gradation of kind of the priorities of what you should be doing. And this is given, I had recently this example. So we're kind of publishing different articles, and it was kind of like, I guess, I don't like, we'll go to that. But the idea was something like this. We are publishing a story about a company that just IPO'd. And my idea was that article is
the drones?
Yes. And I said that article is informative, but it gives you no direction. But the answer got on the other side is like, but we want to know that people could get informed with us. But this is like very dangerous because what's the principle? What's the guiding principle? Is it signal to noise ratio? So like we always give you an actionable idea, or we'll give you an information and tell you how to interpret it, and let you interpret it, or interpret it that could be interpreted either way. So for example, this stock is IPOing, and I said there's no pattern. So yes, we give the people that this stock is IPOing and you could buy it or you could sell it short. But which way should go?
Yeah. Just informative.
Just informative. And so, this is kind of like an example of lack of priorities. So is always having an opinion or giving an actionable idea first priority? Or giving information is the first priority.
So I presume that created a conflict in you.
I mean, yeah, I said like, that that clearly shows that we have no clear priorities. And of course, sometimes you could rule over some of the priorities. But the reality is that, what is like, the kind of guiding principle? And if it's violated, how often should be violated? So the idea is like, everything is a trade-off, and sometimes something could be more informative than kind of signal. But the reality is like, if it's only informative and you do that very often or often enough, it devalues the kind of pattern established from the other articles. And this is very true for all news media. Everything's reported. Everything's reported, but the signal to noise ratio could be very low. Yeah, so a lot of it could be it could be just noise. Yeah, a lot of it is probably just noise.
I guess that aligns with in the very beginning of this podcast. I was asking why would we do it? And back then, a couple of years ago already, you told me, ask yourself, would it matter in 10 years from now? Would there be added value?
Yeah.
So I guess that is the conflict between those informative articles and the ones where you express your opinion.
Yeah, it means nothing.
Yeah.
It tells you nothing. So it has no like kind of lasting value. It describes you one particular situation. And yeah, I'm not saying that it has zero signal. It's just signal to noise ratio is very high.
Yeah.
And by putting a lot of, and there's room for articles like that. But the reality is again, it's the idea of like, what is the guiding principle? And if it's just information, well, we could open, I don't know, Encyclopedia Britannica or something like that and just read what you want. But like, this is going to come up with the AI so much. And the AI is going to make information very easy to gather and kind of manipulate. But the interpretation of that information is going to be much more valuable because a judgment is needed. When the information that
good judgment,
that the information that AI gathers and kind of, I don't know, absorbs or like builds some sort of a model based on this information, judgment on that output is going to become more and more valuable. Because information, or eventually AI gathers information foolishly now, but let's say that information gets clean, or like you feed it information. But in interpretation of that information and assigning value to that information, it's going to become even more and more valuable because it's not going to be that obvious. It's not going to be that obvious, and it seems like people outsource thinking already to AI. So this is going to degrade, like, some sort of like a cognitive function in people, or potentially not increase them. but the ability to like, kind of argue or kind of make a choice, discern, this is exactly the right discernment, is going to be more and more valuable. And that's never going away. So AI is shifting the effort. So like something that was very menial, turns have to read and fast and kind of like, clean stuff up and build like models. That's going to be kind of like that effort that was necessary. It's no longer be rewarded as much because AI can do it for free.
And faster.
But the efforts shifted. Now that everybody has this output, and nobody has like, computational mistakes. Analyzing that output and discerning what's right and what's wrong is gonna be the difference. Right. How do you feel about that, Mr. Kirchhoff?
I totally agree with you. I mean, my other boss is calling those news articles. You're giving me, like, every time he says it, it's like his replies, you're giving me yesterday's newspaper. How should I act based on that information?
Right. And how should I act? Well, the most important thing is, right, what occurs is the following, and this is the phenomena that and people refuse to believe it. So I have this model for trading large cap stocks, and I'll tell you why. So for example, get this. This is a real example. I was doing some sort of a lecture, and I realized how people are doing it wrong. So for example, imagine the following example. We have in a high school, and you have 100 people, same age, 100 men, 100 boys, and 100 girls, like, in high school, right? What percentage of the girls, in your experience, are hot?
Low.
How low?
20% maybe.
How about 5 to 10?
Okay.
Right? I mean, really hot.
Hot, really hot? Okay,
Really
yeah,
hot.
less than 10.
Right, less than that. 5 to 10 maximum.
Okay.
5 to 10 are kind of really not attractive. Right?
Yeah.
Okay? And then the rest are in between.
Okay.
Okay. So my thinking goes, instead of me ranking all the girls, I'll let the boys in the high school rank the hot girls. And the other, after the first 5-10 girls, all the other rankings, people don't care. It becomes not so obvious. But the first 5, maybe 10, are obvious by the attention that they get from the boys, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do the evaluation of each girl alone. I'm going to let the boys do it for me.
Okay.
And then based on some sort of a criteria, what I think about certain things, I'm going to choose, but I'm going to choose only from that component, this 5 to 10%. Let's translate that into the S&P 500. 25 to 50 stocks. Those are the best stocks. Assign some sort of evaluation if you feel comfortable. Ignore the rest. You know what's the biggest problem I see? And people say this stock is good. The stock is good, but it's ranked, 76 out of the S&P 500. No margin of safety. Find what are the top 5 girls in the high school. One of them gets single, go bid.
Go bid.
I mean, this is the other thing. Like, one of the traders, like, was like, Mr. Stoikov, here I'm asking this girl out, and what do you think? And I look at the message on Instagram. It's like, that's like 6 sentences in like 4 lines. It's like, what should it be writing? I said, what you should be writing? It was good to see you. Let's get together. 2 sentences. And then, you know what that tells me? When you're actually buying a stock, you're trying to be perfect. Good stocks falling down, forming a bottom, and you're putting bids underneath the bid.
The bid.
You're average, man. You're average. This is a good stock. Buy it. Yeah, pay the offer. What are you gonna say? Offer it. Yeah, right discernment. Like, you don't need to be that good.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
Yeah. It's a good stock, like, right? I mean, it's like your problem is you get scarred, but all the stocks that are not that good, that once they form a bottom, fall again.
Yeah.
And that's why you're actually cautious.
That's like Putin pressing the button.
Right. Right. So it's like, yeah, if it's a good stock, like if that girl is hot, she's not going to stay single for that long. Right? Need to put in a bid.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did exactly what I told him. And basically 2 minutes afterwards, you see like message after message after message.
Wow. Flowing out.
Boy. I said, you're good. Right?
What about the articles?
No, but there's something we also want to finish. So the most important thing for right discernment and I guess self-regulation is the realization is that what causes people is exactly this lack of priorities and clear priorities. So the most important priority is your health. And this is like, the idea is like, it might be fun to kind of like, fantasize sexually about women and driving on their curves. But that's only if you're healthy. So in that particular sense, if you have a Porsche 911, riding around the curves is fun. But that's only if you have Porsche 911. If you have no car, going the curves is no fun.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, criteria, is your health. And you contradict your health. And and then second one is wealth, right? Because a relationship, well, the most important, like, kind of like people say that everything has a purpose. And the purpose of like, many of those like man-women relationship, as far as I'm concerned, historically is proven only one to produce offsprings. And it seems like offsprings need assets and resources for them to grow well. So if that relationship, you can't do that, there's going to be trouble. There's going to be trouble for the relationship and there's going to be trouble for the kids. The idea of many of those things is basically that to realize that you are constantly overfitting. So, for example, you look at kind of like, I don't know, a car being parked 20 or 30 centimeters away from the curb, a little bit further than most other cars. And people say that, okay, that person is drunk, I don't know, that person is a pedophile, that person is, I don't know, a criminal or something like that. They did, all those are possibilities. All those are possibilities, but this is far from certain. Truth is pattern that recurs. One incidence of seeing that means really nothing. And the right discernment is realizing is that it takes a very long time to discern the signal from the noise and not to be in a hurry to do it. That it's going to take years. And the most important thing, not to kind of like believe what your feeling is saying. So for example, let's say, Mr. Kirchhoff likes Porsche 911, right, Mr. Kirchhoff?
Correct.
Based on the statistics of like, what I've read about 911 is, first important is actually like ownership loyalty. How many people that own 911 will buy another one? Actually?
Probably a high percentage.
Very high, 40 to 50%, relatively outside the pattern. So my conclusion is you're not going to be really disappointed. So it's like, there's some cars that are disappointed, but this car would be actually good. But let me describe you like, the patterns or the proportions you're going to go through. So the first is when you first buy it, it's going to be a volatile day. So we spoke about how you're going to think about potentially buying Cayenne. So this is going to be a volatile first day, maybe 24 hours, something like that.
Yeah.
John Deere is going to take you about 2 weeks to get used to the car. Dimensions, kind of speed, kind of parking it, or just kind of getting used to it, the space. So even if you're an experienced driver, it's going to take you to feel a little bit comfortable. This is a period of adjustment. And then based on the fact that people like it, and you already like it, I'm going to say that the cars are going to start purring to you. Purring kitten. So you're gonna feel really good. You're gonna start posting pictures and you're gonna be telling people, yeah, this is the best thing I have. And this purring kitten, statistics say that kittens purr between week 2 and month 6. That's why they really purr. And then it's gonna go down. Probably after a year, kittens actually don't purr at all. And after a year, you'll get used to it. So some things will happen, you scratch it, so it's not going to be that new. You get completely used to it. And like after year 2, you recognize that, I don't know, it's not that new. There is new Porsche.
There's a new Porsche, better.
Or there is a new, I don't know, Benz G-Wagon that you could have bought, or maybe a new Porsche Cayenne that now you like even more than previous. All those things will be there. So the reality is, what you think about the car when you look at it is postcards from the future. Yeah, postcards from the future. And moreover, there is a specific pattern where people buy this car. For example, I look at demographics. And I looked at demographics and income for Lamborghini Aventador and Porsche 911. You know what the interesting part is? Porsche 911 is bought by somebody that's around between 40 and 60, around, I guess, 50 years old, with average net worth between 3 and 5 million, at least. And last year's income has been at least $350,000. The people that buy a Lamborghini are about 10 years younger on average.
I guess.
40s. They've had the same net worth between 3 and 5, even though
I was expecting less.
But they've made at least $500,000 in the year before. So have the same net worth, but progressively made at least much more money recently. The signal-to-noise ratio is basically and the statistics say that if you buy a Lamborghini, you're gonna buy another flashy car. You're not gonna loyalty rate is is actually very, very low. It's in the 20%.
Another brand, flashy.
Yeah, another brand flashy. So everything is statistical. Everything is statistical. What you imagine about what the market's going to do is a postcard from the future. And this is like Kebab, one of the traders was saying is this market feels very strong to me. At some point you were saying this, identity of the market is found out only after a test. You observe some sort of a market kind of lack of volatility or kind of lack of big corrections. That's signal, but mostly noise. And it's so it's the real signal is how the market reacts to adverse news. And of course those adverse news cannot be predicted, but receiving postcards from the future and banking on. And this is a very big problem. So it's one of the interesting things that they asked me on this lecture is like, what would you recommend a young person that's doing kind of like, financial markets to do? And I finally got it, like got something very unique. So I said to them, look, you need to take at least CFA level 1. You need to take at least some financial courses. You can't be taking random investment courses, random kind of like, I don't know, trading or like, whatever things. You need to actually know. Nobody's talking about like completely doing all the curriculum, but you have to be familiar with the economics, accounting, and financial kind of valuations of what they've done.
You need to be invested.
Yeah, you need to know. But then, this is how Susquehanna did, is like you kind of like teach them. At the same time, it was widely encouraged and expected for you to start playing poker. So imagine this. Practically first year when I was in the system, we would be doing like, I don't know, trade simulations twice a week. But we'll be playing after work, like poker, every night, or probably most nights. And during the kind of like the final training, which is like 3 months in Philadelphia, we'll be training every day, like, doing simulations or whatever. And after work, we'll be playing, all of us. And during the weekends, we'll kind of like go on Saturday to
Salt Lake.
no, not to Las Vegas, to
Salt Lake City?
No, to New Jersey, where Trump has it. Anyway, so we go to a casino on the weekend, Saturday, and leave next morning. So we go Saturday morning, play the whole 24 hours.
Just poker.
Just poker. Just poker. You need to become a good, solid poker player. So in a sense, like, I played so many times in the casino that year that I no longer want to go to casinos. I no longer want to play if it's my choice. But I'm a solid player, and when I go and play in, poker games, I know if I'm careful, I'll go to the final table. I've never won a tournament, but I'm good enough so that, like, if I want to stay, I'll stay. And this is like very important because you learn the discipline, and by seeing other people how they trade, how they play poker, you immediately like see how they do. So, for example, a very common thing is people play tight, but nothing comes, and then they get frustrated and they go on a winning streak and a losing streak.
That's me.
Yeah, so it's like you need to become a solid poker player. I mean, you don't need to become really good, but you really kind of like, need to do it. Yeah, you really need to do it. So in that particular sense, many of your shortcomings will be there. So conditional probability and so forth. But yeah, like, it's only after that, after you've proven that you can actually control yourself when things, that's the real signal. And you've proven it for a year. You probably probably need more time to consistently prove it, but in this particular way, like, you get an idea. Poker becomes circle 2 for you. And then, like, you see no reason to make it circle 1. But yeah, you need to make a poker circle 2. You need to make poker circle 2. And yeah, if that doesn't work, very little could be done. What do you say, Mr. Kirchhoff?
That's good advice. It's just you must be good at poker.
Yeah, we have tournaments once in a while. Like, I always make money. I mean, I don't win necessarily the prize, but like,
You're in the top spot.
Yeah. Well, we sometimes there is a prize for the winner, but the other people also win, like, from the pot. So it's
part of the pot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, signal to noise ratio. Is there anything else you want to ask me? Because we do have some time about the signal to noise ratio.
About when you mentioned the article, you mentioned something that you don't like, and then you said you're gonna go back to it.
About the article?
About the IPO.
Oh. Yeah. The idea becomes something like this. It basically reveals that this is like the whole thing, like why do we do the things we do? What's our guiding principle? And that's very important. Like, people want to make money, but the reality is this is the wrong idea. You want to add value. Yeah, so this is like, needs to be your guiding principle, number one. And it doesn't need to be like present all the time, but it needs to be recognized. And when it is excluded, it's in the long term, this will not end up being good. So article is informative, raises your profile, raises interest in readers. It just doesn't add value. It doesn't add value.
I totally agree with you, but how is a young trader supposed to add value to his actions in the markets?
Well, it's very simple. It's very obvious. So, for example, right, this is a real case. Silver is going down
A lot.
a lot. And one of the cycles in between going down, one of the traders was like, "What do you think about silver here, Mr. Stoikov?" And silver was trading at 80 when the previous 10-day low was 72. And I said, I don't know, it's far away from a stop. But he said it's just for a trade. Just for a trade. Right, the several components thing here. So for example, have you heard the saying, I don't know, you don't run after a train and a woman. Right? Have you heard that saying?
No.
But do you think it's true?
Yeah.
Yeah. The reality is, get on the train when it slows down. You can't chase a woman. It's like, she needs to send you multiple messages. Otherwise, there's nothing going on. The reality is silver is wheels are flying off. Train is getting derailed, and you're looking for direction in silver. How can you miss it? And I'll tell you how you miss it. You're chasing a woman.
Postcards from the future.
Postcards from the future. And you don't realize, you're so used to chasing, you don't realize you're chasing a trade. There's no trade. Wheels are flying off.
I guess the same relates to gold.
Right. Wheels are flying off. What trade are you talking about? Just for a trade? What are you talking about? This is a hard trade. At some point, it's this is the lack of value. You only for the trade, and of course you could win in the trade. But where is your edge? Oh, yes, that good, predictor, and there's nothing there. It's nothing there. It's crash. You're just chasing a trade.
There's nothing to analyze, nothing to examine.
There's nothing to analyze. Everything is fluid. It's a lot of things could happen. Of course, there is a trade if you're intraday and you're really trading it. But if you're planning to hold it for any significant amount of time, a lot of things could happen. You're asking for trouble.
So that's where the lack of value comes.
Yeah, it's a lack of value. You're not adding. You are trying to take advantage of the market. You're not just kind of adding liquidity when it's needed relative to your capital. Or kind of providing something like that. You're trying to conquer the world. You're chasing a trade, and the reason why you're chasing a trade is, my guess, you're chasing a woman, and you don't realize you're chasing. Yeah, and this article could be one of those things. We're chasing added value to a client when there's nothing to add. We call it informative. Right. There's nothing to add. So you're chasing adding value. You want to write about this company. There's nothing, and it's good. It's just too early. Yeah, there's nothing. There's no added value. Yeah. You're chasing attention from clients. It's like, yeah. Yeah.
It's not gonna stand the test of time if you keep doing it, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it means.
Yeah. Signal to noise ratio. Yeah, there's no signal in silver or gold right now. Fucking thing is going through the roof. Like,
It's been quite some time since you've been saying that. It's not just from now.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing. It's like I definitely want to short it at some point. Hopefully, it's going to go back to 5,000.
The gold.
Gold, and then short it. Then I'll short it. Yeah.
What about the SPY?
Well, I'm no longer. This is another thing.
Yeah, because I read the blog post about the unemployment and
I'm long-term government bonds. Like I have no position in equities. I think there's going to be a recession, but it could be just like
mild,
prolonged weakness. I'm calling for 20 to 60% drop.
60, really?
Probably around 45.
That's a steep.
The SPY, I'm calling for like 360, something like this. Based on statistical data.
Yeah.
And then I have something even better for you. What I'll do after this thing, whatever correction happens, there's a lot of money invested in US, a lot of money invested in passive investing in indices, right? You've read that many times.
Yeah.
That's potentially dangerous, right? Right?
Yeah.
It's concerning, right? This is real.
And
where we should be investing instead if we're not investing in S&P 500 or the US. And why? Signal to noise ratio, Mr. Kirch. Should we be investing in European stocks? Should we? Bulgarian stocks, maybe.
What?
Should we? I'm asking.
No, I wouldn't.
Why not?
Because there's lack of volume, and when there's lack of volume, potentially.
But not Bulgarian stocks, German stocks. Why not?
We've been going out and saying that the US market is the market that has the most integrity.
I get it. So that we're not necessarily saying that it's non-integrous. We're just saying is that it might not have that great returns. And there is a market that could have much better returns. That's all we're saying. We're not saying we're not going to invest in the US.
The German market?
I'm asking,
No. I don't think the European Union has a bright future.
Right. Why not?
Because the whole marriage but living separately idea doesn't.
It's a narrative. Like I make people like when people. This is a real thing. Somebody said like gold's gonna go to 15,000. I said to him, okay, what's gonna be the price of silver then? Then he started calculating, and I said, like, before you give me the price of silver, I want to let you know that silver and copper are correlated, and silver is a byproduct of copper mines. So the price of silver would invariably mean that, like, you need to tell me what's the price of copper.
Of copper, not gold.
Right. And then after you tell me this, I will let you know that the price of production of gold is increased by 20% for the last 2 years. So if it's going to triple, you need to tell me how much the production is. Once you kind of bring things to people statistically, it no longer stops being fun. I mean, they wanna dream about buy gold at 5,000.
15,000 sounds good.
Sounds really good. And here I am, like bringing statistical questions, and
you're not liked.
Yeah, popping the balloon. Right. I'll tell you why not the European Union. European Union, productivity is not going up. So basically, it's flatlining, and ease of doing business in the European Union is actually one of the lowest. And that's very evidence. One of the favorite facts is that you can't buy SPY ETF, and you could buy an ETF that has the same kind of components, but priced in euro. It makes no sense. It's called
VUSA, the
VUSA, yes.
Yeah.
So you could buy VUSA, but you can't buy SPY. This is like, kind of litigating the form and not the substance. So like, there is a lot of kind of requirements, legal requirements that make doing business in the European Union very low. So yes, European stocks are probably not getting the outflow of the SPY.
Then what is?
Right. What is? Maybe India, the
No.
new rising tiger.
No. Japan?
Ease of doing business in India is much worse, actually. So that and valuations are not low. Yeah, it's going to be China.
Okay, I thought of saying Japan, but
Japan is there, but kind of like productivity is not that great. And
China, really?
Yeah, it's going to be China. Hong Kong. Hong Kong listed Chinese company, potentially. Ease of doing business is like close to the US. Productivity growth in Hong Kong is also very close to the US. We don't have numbers for China, but and the valuations in China, every single Chinese company that I see is at least 50% discount to US peers. So even if the flow doesn't materialize into China, and China's been in depression for, I don't know, several years now. So it's like, consumers are really depressed. So potential for upside is much higher. Yeah, we'll be in China, man. Yeah.
Giving me Ray Dalio vibes.
Truth is statistical. Can't be making shit up. Like, this marriage doesn't work out. What does that mean? Statistics, man. Productivity is not going up, and ease of doing business. That's real. That's real. And marriage thing is like, you dreamed it up. Like, China is made of different people that speak different languages. Yeah, they also married. Important thing is to get some work done. Yeah, truth is statistical. Yeah. People prefer kind of what this is called narrative speaking. So it's like people dream throw numbers or throw quotations. But as soon as you kind of circle around it and kind of try to bring them up, right, truth is statistical. Truth is statistical. Most of the things you hear on the news are narratives. And, interesting example I want to show you this. So, for example, this is a real case. UNH, United Healthcare. So there was the stock was trading, 600, and had disaster earnings. CEO left, and kind of like they removed guidance and they brought a new CEO. And the CEO, first day of work, one of the first day of works, said, I'm buying $50 million worth of stock. What do you say about that, Mr. Kirchhoff?
Wait, the CEO bought $50
million worth of your United Healthcare.
Was he's confident?
Is it noise or signal?
Signal?
It's mostly noise. It's one person buying. That's the whole thing. It's a lot of money, but it's just one person buying. The other thing is how I interpret it is irrelevant. How the analysts interpret it, they didn't move it. And then the other thing that happens, think about it this way: the sequence of events. Company removes guidance, removes CEO, brings a new CEO, and new CEO buys 50 million. How about giving guidance, man? So in the absence of guidance, you bring in something flashy.
Yeah, the 50 million.
50 million.
Yeah.
How do you know that the 50 million was actually bought with his money? How do you know that the company didn't provide him with a loan where they're fully responsible for the loan? We don't know that.
So it's noise, flashy noise.
Yeah, it's like the most important thing is like people. The most important thing he could have done, he could reinstate or give guidance, but he didn't do that. And you want to give something emotional for people to digest, to believe. You gave him buying 50 million, but did he buy 50 million? Where did he got the money? We don't know. But he didn't give guidance. Yeah, he didn't give guidance.
So analysts didn't react.
Yeah, didn't react. And stock is basically the same way as you came. It rallied, Warren Buffett bought it, and now back to the same level. It's a bad business. The signal, this is a bad business. It's a bad sector. That's the real signal. This company, this CEO buying that stock is noise. False confidence. Yeah, truth is statistical. Yeah. 50 million, sounds like a lot. But it's not statistics. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, the whole thing is like, yeah, he buys 50 million. What is the stock worth after that example? How much more? Yeah, it's statistical. You don't know. But you feel that, you feel.
Feelings.
Yeah, you feel. What can you do? Yeah, the truth is statistical. No exceptions. I mean, this is like a kind of like an argument, like with a clown. Not an argument, but comes sort of like back and forth. And I said, not everything is statistics. And I said, on the contrary, everything is statistics. It's just there's some statistics I don't know about. That's when, like, it becomes like non-statistical. There's some statistics I don't know about. Yeah. So, for example, 2 days after the breakout of the hostilities in the Middle East, where prices are, that's noise. The signal, they're mostly noise. Where prices are, 30 days after the hostilities, there's some noise, but there's signal.
Talking about the oil price.
About anything. About anything.
So it's too early to say. Currently, it's noise.
Well, there's signal. So it's like how this will be resolved, but how people perceive the conflict, that's for real. So it's like you could look at those relationships that you see are not written in stone. It doesn't, but they are meaningful. This is where data becomes meaningful. What actually happens, how people react. So yeah. Yeah, I think so. Do you have any other questions? Anything you want to ask me, Mr. Kirchev?
No.
Anybody you want to send this podcast to?
Many people are actually, what we already discussed, interested what you have to say about the conflict in the Middle East. But
we're not specialists, but yeah, it's 100-to-1 ratio. So like the U.S. could win this war. It's not even a war. It's like it could force negotiation. The most important thing is not to send troops to there because there is clear pattern that many of those countries cannot be occupied consistently. But the most important thing is, again, like Putin, people think about Iranians as some sort of imaginary thing, mujahideen or something
exactly,
like that.
Yeah.
The average age is 33. Most people are married. Most women have 1.8 kids, so they have kids, but not that many. And it's actually a relatively market functioning economy. This is like the interesting part. Do you know what's the total capitalization of the Iranian stock market?
Not gonna sound good, but I didn't know there is an Iranian stock market.
$1 trillion. I mean, this country is not
the jihadistic, yeah.
It's not mujahideens.
yeah.
It's not Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, I have friends from there, so that hit me as a surprise many years ago that they're actually not bad.
Yes, so we're talking about a relatively not poor country. not poor country, and people that are very stable in terms of the demographic, a society that's very stable in the demographic. This is not a society that's ready to invest heavily in some sort of like a war with any other country. Yeah. It's like, this is not a belligerent society. Do you know what's the average age in the Gaza Strip? 18.
18.
Yeah, that war would go on for a while.
18. Wow.
Those people are not married with kids. Yeah.
That's brutal. 18 is brutal.
Yeah, so truth is statistical. And people are just like you. This is the whole thing. It's like, if you're approaching the age of 30 or kind of around that age, or you've been 30, you kind of know what a 30-year-old think about. Yeah, 30-year-olds are not ready to die for their country.
Yeah.
Or at least not
No.
kind of like dying to die. Right. All right. What do you say we stop and we let our readers, listeners enjoy it?
Sure. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for listening.
Like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe and let us know in the comments whether you liked it.